Hi there, welcome back to Camera Then Coffee, where you and me talk about deserving cameras. And today we are comparing Sony A7R4, the first full-frame camera to feature 61 megapixel sensor, and Sony A7 IV, the new hybrid king. And while we do this, we'll look at those top 21 things that A7 IV does better than A7R4. Cool, it's a beautiful day, and without any further ado, let's begin. Now, before I talk about all the good things about A7 IV, let me right away talk about one thing that makes A7R4 stand out: the extraordinary 61 megapixel sensor, which will obviously give you high quality detailed images, but many of us don't take it into consideration that 61 megapixel sensor might be quite demanding. As heard from the fellow creators, some of the lenses don't work well with 61 megapixel sensor. It is good only if you have plans to spend on high resolving lenses. Plus, your computer might say, "Hey man, I just can't handle your file sizes." Long story short, the 33 megapixel sensor on A7 IV is pretty good for most photo needs. Cool. Now let's look at those 21 things that Sony A7 IV does better than A7R4. First up, A7 IV is powered by the latest Bionz XR image processor, which contributes to image quality and better interface response. We generally don't hear creators talking about the processor, but this thing does matter because it is completely new. Sony will likely support it with firmware updates later, and any new features they come up with will have a better chance of making into the A7 IV than the A7R4. Second thing, A7 IV has a wider ISO range, which does make a difference in low light situations. Speaking of autofocus, both the cameras have the same fast hybrid autofocus, but A7 IV has 759 face detection autofocus points versus 567 on A7R4. An increased number of focus points make it easier to track and maintain focus on a moving subject. More the points, more flexibility you have in autofocus. Speaking of flexibility, the A7 IV gives you more steps of adjustments than the A7R4 when it is about autofocus transition speed and autofocus subject shift sensitivity. Plus, A7 IV also has an autofocus assist option, which lets you do manual focus adjustments while autofocus and tracking are enabled. In addition, when conditions get tough and light is not in our favor, the A7 IV has a one-stop advantage as it claims to focus down to light level of -4 eV versus -3 eV on A7R4. The seventh good part about A7 IV is its body. It is slightly bulkier because it has a heat dissipation structure that allows it to shoot 4K video for longer period of time without overheating. Another thing that puts A7 IV ahead of A7R4 is the 3-inch articulating touchscreen versus the tilt up or down screen on the later. Talking about memory, both the cameras have two memory card slots. But on one hand, where A7R4 accepts SD UHS Type 2 cards, the A7 IV also supports CF Express Type A card in its first slot, delivering faster writing speed and better buffer capabilities. Regarding the USB port, the A7 IV has a full-size Type A port that allows your camera to work with a wired LAN connection. And now, let's talk about a lot of video benefits. Both the cameras can record 4K up to 30p, but the new A7 IV can also do 4K up to 60p with a slight crop. Plus, the A7 IV can do 10-bit 422 internal or external recording with a maximum bitrate of 600 Mbps. Whereas the A7R4 can do 8-bit 422 external recording with a max bitrate of 100 Mbps. And as far as recording format is concerned, the new A7 IV can do H.265 versus the H.264 on A7R4. Also, both the cameras don't have any recording limit, but A7 IV won't overheat fast thanks to its heat dissipation structure. Next good thing in A7 IV is the active mode, in which the camera records gyro sensor data which we can use to further stabilize our shots in post-production. Also, the A7 IV allows smooth white balance change manually while recording a footage. And lastly, A7 IV can be directly used for 4K or Full HD live streaming without the need of any extra software. And at the same time, you can internally record your stream. You can also use A7R4 for live streaming, but for that you will need the ImageEdge webcam software. And talking about a few extras on A7 IV, it has a soft skin effect which slightly softens your skin. It has a focus map feature which lets you see which areas of the frame are in or out of focus with the help of red and blue color. And you also get an anti-dust function on A7 IV wherein the mechanical shutter curtains close to protect the sensor when we turn off the camera. And how can we forget the price difference? For so much on A7 IV, you are actually paying less. The A7 IV is surprisingly $1,000 cheaper than the A7 IV. That's it guys, hope it was helpful. Do support me by subscribing. Thank you so much for stopping by. See you in the next video.